And on that note, we can move away from the real Peacock facts, and we can move on to some trivia and behind-the-scenes facts on Lord Shen exclusively. First of all, would you believe me when I say that Lord Shen was originally supposed to appear in the first Kung Fu Panda film?
What? 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 What?
Indeed he was. Shen was originally supposed to be the rather devious and slightly evil mayor of the Valley of Peace, but not to have a big role. But just before the production of the first film started, he was written out of the script. So they then of course changed Shen's original premise, brought him into the second film, and the rest from there is history. According to the director, Jennifer Yu Nelson, Shen was the hardest character to animate. And I'm not just talking about stuff like his feathers and the fact that he is really fast when he fights. It was so complex that his facial expressions had to match up just as well. I did notice this when I was watching the film, and I was more than impressed by the range of facial expressions that Shen has. And because of Shen's complexity, it was apparently like animating over 6 different characters at the same time. Originally, in the film, they were going to emphasize a bit more on Lord Shen's backstory, focusing on how being leucistic affected the relationship with his parents. Such as it was supposed to be mentioned that Shen was viewed as being sickly and weak-looking due to being leucistic, and was dubbed, and I quote, "too weak and pitiful to deserve attention by his parents." And this apparently would have been what drove him into doing what he did in order to find some sort of self-worth. Many fans already follow this theory, as it's the most plausible explanation to fit with the rest of his story, because I did say earlier that I thought that Shen was already slightly twisted before he massacred the village, otherwise why would he do it? However, we do actually hear from Shen himself that before he went a bit crazy, his parents seemed very loving and rather supportive, such as we get from the fact that his dad used to promise let him play by the throne and kept encouraging him, saying it would be his someday. So I guess they cut that bit out because I guess it wouldn't make much sense with the rest of the story. Because if they fit that in and kept it with the rest of the script, then it wouldn't make much sense. We wouldn't know if his parents were cruel or nice. And my final fact is, Lord Shen seems to have already made an impact on the popular culture, despite the fact it may or may not be too early to say so. It was since he was featured in an episode of Mad, which parodies the entire film in general, in a sketch called Kung Fu Panda. The premise of the sketch centers on the fact that instead of Shen's secret weapon being a cannon, it's a flock of angry birds. They even take the mick out of the whole warrior of black and white thing, which is probably the most popular joke that Shen fans love to make.
How could you defeat the Furious Five?
Nobody listens to me. I say only black and white can defeat Shen. I see green, orange, I see brown. It's like Walt Disney threw up.
Lord Shen in this was played by voice actor Keith Ferguson, who you'll probably remember better for playing Blue in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, number 1 in Codename Kids Next Door, and Dr. Stephen Kellerman, the guy who interviewed Poison Ivy, in Batman Arkham Asylum. And in all honesty, I really don't think he does a bad job in this. In fact, he's really, really good, despite the fact it's only a parody.
I highly doubt that you, Poe, can defeat my secret weapon.
There's even a double joke in there that I really like, which makes fun of the fact that Shen destroyed his own palace in the film, and the fact that the Angry Birds game was said to be so addictive.
Die, Poe, and let Kung Fu die with you!
You know that was your own temple you destroyed, right?
I know, but firing these things is so addictive.
So with that, maybe it means we'll get some more attention for Shen. But either way, I definitely recommend that you check out this parody if you haven't already watched it. As we are nearing the end of this, all that's left to ask is, what impact has he made on the fans? Well, of course, Shen's popularity has skyrocketed, with many people left feeling absolute awe-shock at this amazing character, including oneself. And here's the funny thing I forgot to mention earlier, because in real life, white peacocks will often get rejected by the peahens because of the extreme lack of colour in their plumage, and instead go for the more normal coloured peacocks. How tragic is that? No wonder Shen was so mad. Which is actually really ironic, seeing how Lord Shen has already been officially proven to be the most popular character in the entire Kung Fu Panda franchise, since he has over 80 million units of fan art, fan fictions, and fan clubs dedicated to him, as well as various sites. I can vouch for this myself, since I've made quite a few videos on my YouTube channel as tributes to Shen, and I've drawn quite a few pictures on my DeviantArt page, but they're just for fun. I think Shen is the only white peacock who can look at that statistic and say,
That's impossible. And you...
There is currently even a letter writing campaign, and I'm dead serious about this, from the fans asking DreamWorks Animation Studio for Shen to be brought back from the grave and put into the next film. If you're interested to know more about it, you can find them on DeviantArt or Facebook if you look. I personally won't be jumping on this bandwagon, not straight away at least. I have a lot of faith in the people making these films, because they haven't disappointed us yet. Personally, I'm curious to see who the next film will be. But even then, it's safe to say that the rest of the film would be fantastic either way. Plus, I would just love to see how on God's earth they're going to make someone come back from the dead after they've been crushed, blown up, and most likely drowned after the ship sank. Oh, but here's a little fact I forgot to mention earlier. In Christianity, the peacock is sometimes said to be the symbol of resurrection. So, there you go, DreamWorks. Bring him back to life. It's in the official book. In fact, if they're looking for options on who the next villain will be, why don't they just get some villains from the first video game? Like the Wu sisters. They were awesome and everyone loved those three. And personally, I loved the vultures. I mean, that level looked absolutely stunning. Imagine it in 3D on the big screen. But what I would love to see more than anything is for Shen to get his own special like they did with Secrets of the Furious 5. Or even his own spin-off film where we get to look into his past a bit more. Because those stories are just way too interesting and entertaining not to be told. And in all honesty, giving Lord Shen his own film would not be a bad idea at all. Because, as I've kept saying, they give us a small hint that he was really twisted before he killed the pandas, and the fact is, he must have been twisted to even do it. I mean, it's not like in most things where his parents are really cruel to him and the life just isn't that satisfying, because if you look at it, his life seemed pretty sweet before. He had really successful, rather cool parents. I mean, your parents would be cool if they invent fireworks and they're royalty, and they were quite loving and supportive of him. He's got a nanny who does like magic and all that stuff. He lives in an absolutely gorgeous palace. So in other words, this peacock pretty much had it made. So it makes you wonder what on earth could have possibly have happened to him to turn him into such an absolutely evil, psychotic and really dangerous person. Because anybody else would have saw this prophecy and thought, well, they wouldn't have done what he did, that's for sure. His logic is just so interesting at the fact that nobody else would ever do that. So it really makes you wonder what on earth could have possibly have happened to him to make him have such confused and completely misled morals. Because he didn't think he was doing anything wrong, but he didn't care that he was killing people. That's kind of interesting because usually they either don't know that they're doing wrong and they think this is right, or that they know it's wrong and they don't care. But with Lord Shen's actions, it's pretty much a mixture of the both of them. I mean, that's what I love. It's far more interesting, and to be honest, I think DreamWorks has no other choice now. They have to delve into that psychology. We have to find out what happened to him. And that's what I kind of love, because despite the fact that it is, no character in these films seem like cartoons. They don't stick with their normal personalities, and they do often change. And they just haven't shown us all of it yet. They've shown us a lot, but we still get the feeling that there's more to explore. So, DreamWorks really do have to make that special, or that movie, or bring him back. That would be fantastic. Although I must warn myself that if I think I did watch it, I would go blind due to overexposure to pure awesomeness. Which is a little odd because there will be an extra on the DVD, which is a short film that looks at the backstories of the Kung Fu Masters Croc, Storming Ox and Thundering Rhino. And I know what you're thinking. They make one for those three, but not for Shen. And I know, sometimes life just ain't fair, is it? I love these films like a sci-fi geek loves Star Wars. To me, they are just such well-made and great examples of animated filmmaking. With its amazing visuals in both the CGI and 2D style animation, its very interesting stories, how it pays such loving tribute to the ancient Chinese culture, how much effort and hard work goes into every single detail of these films, how much heart and soul these films contain, and also all of its complex characters that constantly arrest your attention. My personal favourite of the new installments has to be the sequel and the holiday special. But it's for certain that with as many dedicated fans that Shen still has out there, we probably haven't seen the last of him. Especially since Jeffrey Katzenberg, the CEO of DreamWorks, has even announced that they plan to make 4 more sequels, making a total of 6 films. 6 films! Even I'm wondering if 6 might be a little bit much, but that's not exactly the number of them that I'm worried about. What I'm concerned with is whether they can pull this off successfully. After all, look what happened to the Shrek films as they went along. But even the Star Wars, Batman and countless other film franchises have recorded to get worse as the films kept going along. And it's very rare that we find a film series that manages to maintain the same amount of dignity that they started off with. But with these films, they've shown to have a lot of thought put into them and have so many complex themes and ideas. If you listen to the filmmaker's commentary on the first film, you can get an idea of that. So I guess all we can do now is have faith in these writers and trust that they will carry on doing as good a job as they have done so far.